Hello and welcome back to Alpha Tauri. We're here for the USA Grand Prix, the original article, you may say. Of course, I realise in the grand scheme of F1 history, it's not the original American Grand Prix, but out of the three that we're having to do now, it is the one that still has the banner of United States. Still got Las Vegas to go, but for now we're at the Circuit of the Americas. Don't think there's any further news as such. Yuki Tsunoda joined Alexander Albon on 82 overall after failing to reach the end of the last race, but for some reason his development went back to balance, and I don't know why. It might be because when he signed his new contract. But we've got him back on our design development plan for him, which is wet track, which does bring control up. Now, don't be too panicked by the 51 control there. I think that's connected to driver appearances, which obviously I have no control over in the first season in terms of advertising and sponsorship. But I think it also explains early on when we had that moment where it said Yuki Tsunoda's control had improved from 70 whatever it was to 51, when it in fact had gone to the next number up. It wasn't a bug as such. It was just showing me the control that he had during that particular race, which is a little irritating because now I know that's a thing. I'm going to try and avoid it as much as I possibly can because there's certain things in terms of sponsorship that really we don't need to bother with. And if it's going to cost us results potentially, we'll try to avoid it. But it is another sprint weekend, so we'll get straight into it. Qualifying up shortly. It's not really a lot we could take from the actual results of practice, but both drivers getting as much acclimatization as you can get out of one practice session, and 100% setups, that's not bad. Obviously the car part knowledge is because of a new rear wing, which I did forget, that was news. It's another 5%-ish in terms of DRS effectiveness and a little bit in terms of just overall raw speed capabilities, which will help us here. Yuki Tsunoda might need a new engine by the end of the year. I'm not confident the 2 flying lap thing works at a track like this, at this stage in the season, but we'll send them out regardless. It's Q1, we've got the time to do it, but I think with the ERS functionality as they are right now as well, I got a weird feeling that we're going to run out of ERS on the second flying lap regardless. 134.8, 140, 135. Oh, it's slower than Magnussen. That's terrifying. I mean, both improved on the second lap, so Yuki still holds the purple first section by the looks of things. Just aside from qualifying, I'm a little bit confused why Albon's practice soft is available for me to use. Not that I'm going to, but Yuki's isn't. It seems like they've returned Yuki's soft tyre, but not his hard. But with Alex, they've done the opposite. I think it's just because it took Yuki a little bit longer to get his 5 out of 5 initially on the soft run, so he must have used more of his soft tyre, so therefore it's the most used out of these two. I guess that's probably what's happened there, but it's a tad weird. Wish you could just choose where you wanted to return. Okay, now everyone's put times in. It's feeling a little bit better for Yuki and Alex. That Magnussen time is just looking anomalous. I'm actually not fully certain why I've sent them out again. They're probably fine. Looking at the cutoff might be Ocon on a plus 1.8, and I'd expect Gasly to find something here. And if Magnussen and Hulkenberg should be a little bit closer together, then maybe Hulkenberg's got more in his tank too. But looking at the drivers that are probably in the bottom 4, Piastri, Zhou, etc. Oh, Gasly's only goes 16th. He's done a lap there. But you can say, looking at the drivers that are trying to get out, feels kind of pointless. It's probably a bit late to bring Alex in now. He's probably gone past the... yeah, he has. Hulkenberg's on an out lap. Sargent's on a flying lap. Ocon's on a flying lap. De Vries is on the flying lap. I mean, there's 4 drivers on in laps here. No point. So save those tyres as much as possible. All right, 1 lap runs. Warm tyres in. I mean, very used tyres in fairness, but Kota was a killer on tyres last year, and it seems to still be the case. I think I took Yuki Tsunoda off push just before he got to the checkered line, actually, but I think he would go. I think he was fine in terms of his overall lap. I think he had other problems. This is a weird qualifying session. Sargent's in 7th as things stands, and now it's Hulkenberg in the top 10 and not Magnussen. Looking at the gap on track, now it's a sensible time to actually send our drivers out, because Albon now will have a 100% clear track ahead of him. I just had to get Yuki situated there as he gets to the final corner with still actually not entirely warm tyres, but they will be by the time we get to the line. There we go. So Yuki's in 15th. He obviously had a problem originally. Verstappen with a bonkers time, frankly, but 133.3. We are still miles off that. But we'll give Yuki the attention here since he is currently last of all 15. We are not expecting him to be behind De Vries. We're not expecting him to be behind Sargent. So we're also expecting more from Hulkenberg here. I think Ocon's still got a barely functioning car at this point. There's still yet to replace stuff. Magnussen we're expecting an improvement from as well. Because qualifying 1, we were with the kind of Mercedeses, and then the Haas was miles ahead for some reason. So we'll see how that pans out now. Both have done faster first sectors. Huge long straight, no distractions. But I'm using the tyres that they would have done their flying laps in Q3 on, by the way. So they've got like kind of like 1 lap's worth of wear on them, which means very, very little in this game's engine as things stand. So until they actually start doing a proper performance boost for 100% fresh softs, etc., then there's no harm in actually putting on like 1 lap's softs. Better middle sectors, we're expecting improvements here. Maxson did not improve. For a driver that was like 4th, or, you know, whatever he was in Q1. The fact he's qualified 14th here, probably 15th if Yuki improves. There we go. 9th and 10th. People have still got to cross the line here, but Hokubo didn't improve. Sargent I wasn't expecting to improve. Ocon on De Vries, approaching now, actually. Ocon first. No, De Vries first, sorry. 9 and 10, and we sneak in. Hamilton still going around, but he might have actually done his lap. It doesn't look like he's moving with too much pace there. So we sneak in with the 9th and 10th fastest time. I think we ended Q1 at 11 and 12. That's partially because we didn't do the lap in the end. But so that is a little interesting as we go into Q3 here, that it is both Alfa Romeos, both McLarens, both Alpines, both Haas, and both Williams out. So it is 5 sets of 2 in Q1, just ourselves being the 5th of that now, for whatever reason. I don't know what's going on with the Alpines. I'll have to check their engines when we get to an actual race, because I don't think I can do it now. But whatever happened to the Haas's pace in Q1, though? And shout out to Logan Sargent in what is effectively one of his home Grand Prix. I think Miami's technically his home, but stonking lap he did there. Pity he's got a penalty for the actual race. All right, so we'll use those tyres for the first run. I've paused it because obviously I was about to take Alex off push modes for his in-lap. And there's a red flag, with Alex being the only person to have done a time. And I think I can see what's happened here. You know what, it's actually funnier with it being focused on Alex with this situation in the background. So, Stroll on an out lap, just to clarify here, Stroll's on an out lap. Okay, rear wing seems intact. I mean, none of the angles are showing anything fundamentally wrong with our car. I mean, it's sparking, so I think Stroll's, you know, thumped him. But, so Stroll gets out of the way, and then doesn't get out of the way. What a mong. I mean, to be fair, he wasn't getting more than 10th anyway, but, well, 9th and 10th. This won't affect, obviously, the amount of time remaining. I wish there was a way I could see what the car was like. I wonder what this does for everyone else, if they just do 1 flying lap, essentially, or if they're still trying to squeeze 2 in. Verstappen just casually going 2 seconds faster. I think if we send Albon out now, he'll get into a nice pocket, because I think he'll catch Hamilton and overtake him, and that'll be that. Or he won't even catch Hamilton. Damn, I left it a smidge too late. Oh, Hamilton's coming in. So they're only doing 1 lap then. Obviously ignore the 5 minutes because that's counted before the red flag to when they've actually crossed the line for the out lap. But obviously everyone is going to be... I mean, Alex is guaranteed at worst 8th now, which is 1 place more because Stroll's a moron. I don't get it because he got out of the way and then decided to still be on the apex by the time Yuki turned in. Like, slow down if you're going to get out of the way. Especially there. Perez and Verstappen split by 7 thousandths. That's the closest I've seen that. Then goes Russell to put in a representative time, just Leclerc to go in that respect. Obviously faster laps from everyone. Yuki's still got his fresh set of softs, if his car's functional. Also, I'll say it now, there's a practice session between this and the sprint, so we'll bypass that and see you straight for the sprint once we find out where Alex actually starts that. He'll start that in a points-paying position, but Stroll's immediately behind. Leclerc already 6th is a little surprising. Hamilton getting in between the 2 Ferraris. Not a good lap from Leclerc. Bella Alex. Last one across the line, stays 8th, that's depressing, but only a 10th off Russell. I don't think he intended that to rhyme. That's the point, how do they sort this out? Because it has Yuki ahead of Lance at this point in time, because he did an out lap, but I don't know how whether they saw him out 9th or 10th, all things considered, and we won't find out that answer until the sprint actually happens. Unbelievable. I am infuriated. We have not got through any of the last 6 Grand Prix without losing a chassis. And I don't have enough because I can only build, because we lost 2 last weekend, I can only build 1 per weekend because they take ages to build one. And apparently I can't put it on the worst one. But whilst that one does provide a benefit, you can see the difference between the 2 chassis is basically engine cooling and a bit of extra weight. It's not a huge amount it does in terms of cornering and speed. I mean, 0.001 is a relative amount, but technically you would be faster here. In terms of top speed, but it's the engine cooling that matters really and the extra weight. But I don't know why it says I've got 2 of them. I don't. If I had a second one, I'd put it on. But obviously all the ones behind are the big downgrades. Suspensions we do have spare of. He's done the gearbox in. Oh, that was the good gearbox! I thought about not putting the best one on. I thought about putting the second best one on, the 56%. I thought, nah, it's fine. You know, there's spaces where you can have accidents at America, but it's relatively uncommon compared to, say, Sao Paulo and Mexico, where I would have been a little bit more cautious. Oh, he's good enough for practice anyway. I'll use that one and just destroy it entirely. But Andy's done the remainder of that ERS in. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. We'll take penalties next race, but I don't think he's done the engine in anymore. But they're not making the end of the year. As a pair, they're not making the end of the year. gearbox might just do it, but well, we got through that unscathed at least. Yuki's been given 9th, and it is 100% a medium run in this particular sprint because softs won't make 19 laps. They barely make 13, so don't need to... I am concerned I'm going to have to take an entirely new car for Yuki at some point. 53% engine. I can't get through all the practices, let alone the races, with one 53% engine and one 34%. Lance Stroll has just cost me 7.5 million minimum. This is the problem with this year's game. By making everything so expensive, there are factors outside of your control which cost you so much money. I don't mind if you get close to the budget through decisions of your own making, but when it's other drivers causing problems for your drivers and your vehicles and costing you money because of their stupidity and or poor game mechanics, because I don't know how much is that on Lance being an idiot, just AI-wise, and how much of that is just the game not making people move over as effectively as it should. But it's cost me 7.5 million and I've only got 11 million in the budget. I cannot do anything. That one moment alone from Lance Stroll has probably put me over the cost cap.
It's lights out and away we go.
Do need to just do a minor shout out to Fernando Alonso, who's on a bit of a hot streak of form here. It's 2 back-to-back third starts. Admittedly, this one's in a sprint, but he's up to second. He's had a couple of podiums. Fernando Alonso's bringing something to that Aston Martin as Yuki's taken Alex. That's always helpful. But Lance is having a bit of a nibble now. We'll come back in. Sprints tend to be a little bit... 3 people have gone on softs, the idiots. Ocon's going to be unbelievable for the first 10 laps, and then he's going to vanish. But now it's tyre watch as we wait for everyone else to stop pushing. Yellow flag. Just a yellow flag. Why is DRS activated immediately? Is it shorter in the sprints? I don't think we need to be quite as aggressive on the ERS with DRS activated already. Yuki Tsunoda got Leclerc. Wasn't watching him, and there's no replays in the sprint, so that happened. Everyone's still pushing their tyres? I think they've stopped pushing their tyres. Obviously, Leclerc gets him back as soon as we stop pushing, but... And by lap 7, we've been put in our place, which is, of course, not in the top 8. Because there are 4 teams whose just pure car power is so much better than everyone else's, and there's nothing anyone else can do about it. So now we're all just going to drive around until this race ends. Hulkenberg might get Albon, I don't know. But yeah, soft runners have to pit, so expect Sargent and Ocon to pit at some point here. Told you they were only good for 13 laps. Sargent's going to be done by lap 13. And Ocon's now just going to be a menace to Hulkenberg as well. Our 2 drivers are fighting. I'll let them do it. You know what, Yuki? You're behind by the last lap. Stay behind. Let's not incite an incident now, shall we? As one actually happens. It's only classed as a yellow flag. Is it basically what happened in practice? Haas moves to the inside. De Vries doesn't really accept he's there. A little bit different, because Yuki was ahead of Lance Stroll, whereas Nick De Vries wasn't, which is why Nick De Vries got that penalty. And nobody got a penalty for the Lance Stroll incident, which is odd. But the crucial thing is Yuki didn't. So no points, because all top 8 drivers finished the race. What a great sprint for Lando Norris, up 5 places. He has a penalty. Unlucky Lando. What a pointless exercise that was to anyone who wasn't in a top 4 team. Genuinely, what a waste of 19 laps. But shout out to Fernando, starts the actual race 3rd, still. Don't know what happened to Sainz and Hamilton in that, but their teammates got ahead. Right, now for the thing that actually matters to basically everyone. What an interesting way of putting the soft in there. I'm not sure what's better. Do we have 2 good mediums still? Apparently. It's 1 second difference between introducing a soft here. They're all basically the same, but obviously that version brings you out. We'll put them on different strategies because they are running together off the start line, so maybe we do that? I don't know. Or at the very least, set it up so it's like that. I mean, there's 100% going to be an incident, but we'll only go 1 lap under, and then we can push the fuel off the line. I don't think it's particularly easy to recover fuel here. Off we go.
Sit tight and get ready. It's the United States Grand Prix. And it's lights out and away we go.
Off we go. Caroon with Michael Owen-esque level of commentary before that, as they highlighted Fernando Alonso's 3rd place start, saying that starting 3rd means you're in a good chance of getting a podium. Duh. Intrigued to know who started on softs. Hamilton and Stroll. Bottas and Norris did too, as did Max Verstappen at the very, very, very front. So it's going to be fascinating to see how that one pans out. As Yuki Tsunoda takes a more conservative strategy and gets overtaken by Ocon immediately. Oh, great. I don't know, Yuki. What are you doing? You're on the same tyre as Ocon there. I was about to check car capabilities there, but then I've just remembered, of course, that we probably need to do a full lap before we get any indication on that front. We'll come back in. First lap's gone unscathed, although the accident seems to be happening there as Gasly vanishes into the ether. Good lord. Didn't know that was possible. Doesn't affect our race, but... Well, it does affect our race, because long-term Gasly probably would have ended up in it. But... Unfortunate. That's not where we used to get crashes last year. Oh, that's going to get the fuel back immediately, which is a tad irritating. It'll also extend that first stint. This is perfect news for all those soft runners. You'll probably get an extra lap at least out of these tyres now, long term. Actually, I don't know if it is good news technically, because it means we're not getting laps actually using them, if you know what I mean. Because VSCs tend to actually last a couple of laps, even though the cars vanish now off the map. So whilst it's saved a bit of tyre wear over that period of time, we've also not time that we've been able to use these tyres to attack. VSC's ending, so I'm turning everything up. Actually, before we get going again, this is the prime opportunity to actually have a look at other people's car functionality. Leclerc's engine is gone, as is Sainz's. Norris is using a substandard engine. Not that he really matters into our race. Ocon still doesn't have great engine parts. He's got a new gearbox. Obviously, Gasly's vanished off that immediately. George Russell now has an entirely new car. As does Lewis. The two Hasses seem to be largely functional as well. So, Stroll's engine's a little bit under. So in terms of the cars that we could be fighting, Stroll's is a little off, Ocon's is a little off in a couple of areas. We obviously don't have any part that's under the threshold, but we're not using sensational parts. I can't believe Stroll destroyed Yuki's car. Not content with destroying Alex's car a few races ago, he's now decided to take Yuki Tsunoda out as well. Me ditching you, mate, was last game. You shouldn't have a grievance against me this game. Different universe. You're still in an Aston Martin here. Of course, VSC didn't actually prevent DRS from being a thing, which means Albon's got away from Ocon now and is part of this train of vehicles with Lewis Hamilton and getting Lewis Hamilton as things stands. And I wonder if at any point Lewis Hamilton will yield here. No is that answer. If Hamilton could be behind at the detection point, that would be sensational work. But I mean, they have given it a go, yes. It's great side by side. It's a pity there's no like really nice camera angle there. Yeah, Alex was ahead at the detection point, so now Lewis Hamilton's got the DRS. It's whether or not actually Albon had DRS on the car in front as well. He did. And our DRS is superb. We now have 70% effectiveness. So we've got him again on the same lap. This is the difference in DRS effectiveness, by the way. You can see also behind Ocon and Tsunoda both with DRS. What, did Tsunoda get Ocon? He did. Again, the difference in DRSs and straight line speed for Yuki right now as well. Because he's got the worst chassis with worse engine cooling, but better straight line speed. So that's actually got Yuki Tsunoda up, and we don't see that highlight, sadly. I'm going to assume they're pushing their tyres again, because they always do after VSC restart, so I feel like the soft runners might have come off their pushes, but bloody Stroll! We've breached the cost cap. We've breached the cost cap.
Now the Alpha Tauri involved here. Dangerously close to each other.
Can't see it. I don't know what actually happened. Hopefully we get a manual replay that actually focuses on the person who's actually at fault for this. He's broken the chassis as well. We haven't got any chassis. Go on the hards. Just go as long as you can, I guess. And we'll sort it out from there. Or, I want to see what happened. Because Lance Stroll had 0% tyres. A McLaren drove into the back of Alex, who was stationary. I saw that. But that wasn't the 0% problem. I mean, Yuki started this 8th now. Bottas is in 10th. There's points here for Alfa Romeo. Ocon's gone on to fresh mediums rather than fresh hards. Yeah, Norris is out as well. Norris drove into the back of Albon. I saw that bit. But Stroll was on 0% tyres, so it felt like he went off. I've got a feeling Stroll went off because he was obviously ahead of... Yeah, Stroll was ahead of Hamilton, so I think Stroll went off and came back on and got Alex. 99% sure that's what happened there, because there's no reason for Stroll and Alex to be out and Hamilton to have survived. Although Hamilton, we got past Hamilton, haven't we? There's a yellow flag again, I think. But, okay, maybe he didn't go off. I think he just caused the incident. I don't know what happened, but immediate VSC as Verstappen is out. And Charles Leclerc, by the sounds of things, but carnage! But Lance Stroll had single-handedly broken the cost cap for us. We are now going to have to spend 17 million replacing both vehicles' engine parts. I mean, it could end up with good points to Yuki Tsunoda if he survives. I mean, talk about drive to survive. 8 laps in, there's 6 vehicles out. Bottas is 8th. As things stand, Alfa Romeo will go from bottom to 8th because Williams are 10th with 1 point. They're on 2 already, I think. Piastri's 13th and McLaren are on 2 points. Actually, I can't remember if Williams scored points recently. I could have gone like 8 laps under on fuel at this rate. I think we can push the field for the rest of the race. I don't know why Lance Stroll hates us. That's what Alex did, didn't he? He got on the outside of Lance Stroll at that hairpin. He did this, and this is what's happened, isn't it? Alex did this to Lance Stroll. And Stroll just did that, basically, but actually made contact. I bet that's what's happened there. But this is our fight now. Alex didn't even get to make a pit stop as well, which doesn't help us in that championship. Our straight line speed must be quite potent because Ocon had DRS there and didn't get past on that straight. I mean, I know we're using ERS here, but Everyone's probably still pushing their tyres. All right, we'll save that ERS. I mean, Yuki, you are on... Oh, for God's sake. What's happened now? Bottas. Oh, Bottas. He's got going again. Now, Sargent is 9th. And all of a sudden, Alfa Romeo are still going to end with 0 points. Piastri's close to getting a point. No, Ocon's pushing now. Hard tyres are proving a problem for Yuki Tsunoda now, as the 2 Hasses have come through. Not on hards, worth noting. But Yuki's able to hold on to Hülkenberg even if he wasn't able to... Oh, for pity's sake! They've got going again, but those hards are done, and that's front wing damage. I mean, it's minor. So Yuki on the inside this one.
And the contact between the...
I don't know whose fault that is. Hülkenberg's been blamed with it. Because it's interesting that Leclerc got blamed for the Verstappen incident, which we didn't really see in the end, I don't think, properly. But nobody took the blame in the Albon and Stroll situation. I mean, he's on 37% tyres now. He's going to have to get a new front wing, of which we've got 2. He's going to have to go medium, soft, I think, at this point. Is that the only situation? Suspension damage is major. Oh, excellent. I think Bottas damaged his car because... Or pitted. Yeah, Bottas pitted. So no DRS advantage for Yuki going forward. De Vries is 8th all of a sudden as well, as Yuki is struggling to keep up with Valtteri Bottas. Hülkenberg pitted but didn't take his penalty. Just want to throw that one out there. The suspension damage is problematic. Oh no, he didn't pit. Bottas is inexplicably faster than Yuki Tsunoda right now. So, yeah, that suspension damage is a problem. We're not retiring him, just on the... Bottas is pitted and come out ahead of Yuki Tsunoda again. Such is the problem with Yuki Tsunoda's... I mean, we're essentially just hoping 3 more people retire here. Alonso's winning. Just going to throw that out there, but that's because he hasn't pitted off his hards yet. If we hadn't banked a serious amount of points already, this would have been a disastrous race for us with both Williams and McLaren scoring, probably. The Yuki's car is clearly damaged. I'll be able to actually get that original set of mediums to the end now. Just. We'll at very least get a pit stop in from Yuki Tsunoda. You know, the fact that Bottas is ending this race 40 seconds ahead of Yuki is indicative that there's clearly car damage for Yuki Tsunoda here. I mean, if De Vries and Sargent could take themselves out, that'd be great. But, I mean, Russell and Hamilton are on top of each other again. Yuki's been lapped by the Williamses. Just going to throw that one out there. I mean, I had to keep going in this race because... Oh, God. Oh, he has been lapped, of course. But, yeah, he's lapped. I don't need to push him. He's lapped twice, I'm pretty certain. Obviously, I couldn't bank the fact Sargent actually ended up on De Vries' tail there. He could have easily crashed into him. I think, weirdly, finishing 13th would still actually be a happy result for the board. Remarkably, Alfa Romeo still remain with 0 points. I mean, obviously, carnage, but what that means for the Drivers' Championship is that Sergio Perez is already ahead of Charles Leclerc, but puts a healthy margin on that one. Carlos Sainz closes on his teammate. Fernando Alonso still several points behind, but Lewis and George in their own little fight. Esteban and Pierre in their own little fight. Nick de Vries and Logan Sargent move up places because 10 points between them. Leapfrog other people. Piastri gets a point too, which leaves only the Alfa Romeo drivers pointless. And like I say, would have been disastrous if we hadn't banked a few points already. Williams gained 10, McLaren gained 1. And we still get fastest pit stop because of Yuki. Yuki alone. Doesn't really do much for us overall, but close a little bit on Alpine. I don't know if that's actually catchable at this point. Oh, good. Some positives. Both race engineers improve. Well, if that doesn't tell me I need a new ARS, I don't know what does. Thanks, Hülkenberg. I can't believe it. Can't believe it. I'm going to have to ride that one gearbox on Alex for the rest of this season. I think I inadvertently used the worst ERS on Alex's during the race, which might have been a blessing in the end. So underfloor was damaged, rear wing was damaged, and front wing was damaged on Alex's car. This is the post-race report, essentially. So underfloor, rear wing, and front wing all missing. So it kind of feels like... I don't know how you managed to... Oh, rear wing was because... Okay, so the rear wing's because obviously the McLaren came up our backside. The front wing... We've literally only got those 2 remaining. We built a fair few of these to begin with. We've got 1 spare rear wing-wise, so that's not too shabby. We're already building chassis because of previously, but we can't do them any faster. Right, 2 more front wings then, please. Oh, the underfloor just failed, so chassis, rear wing. We don't have any more of these chassis. There are no more chassis. Also, we destroyed 2 suspensions in one weekend as well. It's only 4 days to the next Grand Prix as well, so we don't have enough time to build anything. Oh, God, we don't even have the money to replace the car parts. Can I just not run Yuki Tsunoda in this next race? Is that a viable option? Do I just retire him immediately from the race? Because I can't replace everything I need to replace. I either have to run him with a subpar ERS or a subpar engine. I can't do it all at once. We have been well and truly mugged off here. We've got 10.8 million in the cost cap left. I can't get all the mechanical parts I need and still get through the rest of the season. There's still research I need to do for next year. This is unbelievable. I can see why people get annoyed at this game now. Such a shame because the actual experience mostly is much better than it was last year. But this stupid financial aspect where everything is now so expensive makes it basically impossible not to breach your cost cap when people are driving into you left, right and bloody centre. Quite literally in our case. And there's all the facilities that need refurbishing in the background, which we can't do. They don't go towards our cost cap, but we just don't have the money for them because we're spending money on literally everything else, replacing car parts every single race. Now, don't get me wrong, some of these incidents are our drivers. I'm pretty certain Alex Albon drove into the hairpin wall like Charles Leclerc did in Japan. I'm pretty certain he did that in practice. I never saw it, but that's what I'm pretty certain was what happened there. But every other race we've been driven into. None of our drivers have taken penalties recently. We've been driven into. Lance Stroll drove into Alexander Albon in Monza for zero reason. Lance Stroll didn't get out of the way of Yuki Tsunoda here for zero reason. Lance Stroll, I don't know what happened with Albon there because we couldn't see it on the replay. Lando Norris absolutely drove into the back of us and destroyed the rear wing and possibly the gearbox in the process because that's typically what happens. Nico Hülkenberg was given the fault for the incident with Yuki Tsunoda here, which broke yet another suspension and yet another chassis. And bizarrely, nobody actually crashed at the one spot where everyone crashed at Kota last year, which is the end of the main straight. That's normally the spot where people get collide. Nobody did that here, and yet 6 people still DNF'd. And the weirdest part, nobody DNF'd after those first 8 laps. It was almost like they specifically went out to get us in this particular race to prevent us from actually getting through the season without breaching the cost cap. But I refused to go into debt. The board actually like us, and apparently we went 1 million under in June, which I do not recall happening. They were disappointed with that actually in the end, but 13th normally got them happy, or satisfied at least. Well, there goes our points scoring run anyway. But if you found something to enjoy in that race, at the very least, do comment. But like and subscribe as well if you haven't done so already. You know the deal by now. Until next time, thank you for watching. Next week, 4 more races. Next season's preview video as well. That locks out the entire 5 videos next week. Week daily, of course, still. Until then, thank you for watching. Ta-ra.